Everyone knows that building a business from the ground up can be a tough gig. Some make it and others don't, but today on FIL TV, I'm talking to KALILA from fashion label KALILA NaMOI about her successful business. This year is 10 years of business right here in SA, and I want to know how she's made a successful career in a tough industry, especially with the rise of fast fashion. So let's go and see what tips she's got to give us. KALILA, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Katelin. It's lovely to be here.
You are at 10 years of KALILA and NaMOI this year, so congratulations. That must be an amazing feeling.
I think, it's sort of like a reflective moment of going, oh wow, everything that has happened, and then also like a moment of looking forward and thinking, what does the future hold, and how to sort of push things in the direction that you want, and deciding on that direction as well.
Well, I was really intrigued because the other day on FIL Society, you said you'd started the business at 22 years of age, which is basically me now, and I can't imagine taking that responsibility on. So well done to you. So I guess from that, I want to know, how did you start your business and what drove you to take that risk at such a young age?
I was studying fashion in Sydney, and I had actually wanted to study fashion earlier after I'd left high school, but I couldn't get into the TAFE course because I'd done more maths and science subjects in year 12. So I was impatient and I moved to Sydney. I got into this college and started the degree. Because I already had some fashion knowledge, I found the coursework a little bit slow. And so I started sewing outside of the course as a bit of a hobby. So it was very much that idea of like, you just do the things that you love. And I loved making garments and being creative. And so it was very organic. I had a friend who very much inspired me to push it a little bit further. And she sort of said, let's do a photo shoot, set up a website, get a Facebook page. And so without people who were a little bit more confident around me, I probably wouldn't have taken that step either. And it was all very humble for the first several years and just taking sort of small opportunities. And then I moved back to Adelaide, and that's when I started to take it a little bit more seriously.
Through that time when you were creating your own garments at home and sewing as a hobby, if you like, was it always that classic and timeless aesthetic?
It was possibly a little bit, no, it wasn't. It was, initially it was very feminine and still drapey sort of designs. I quite like garments that you can move in really easily. And then this next photo shoot was very eclectic, very colourful. And I used to just go and buy designer remnants from this fabric shop in Sydney, and I could just get 1 or 2 meters. And so it was very low cost of entry. I didn't have heaps of money. I think I worked weekends for another fashion business, and then I was studying during the week. I think I earned like, I don't know, $400 or $500 a week, if that. And my rent was half of that. But no, the aesthetic definitely evolved as I exposed the product to more customers and got their feedback on it.
What made you make that change? Is it because the timeless aesthetic is always in and people can wear it over and over again?
Yes. When I moved back to Adelaide, I knew I could get a job with George Gross Harry Hu, and so I worked with that company for a while, and then I did events like the Fashion Festival and Bowerbird Markets, and I did pop-up shops, and I realised that my customers weren't, you know, there would be a garment that would sell, and I'd go, oh, that's interesting. Let me get some more fabric and do that. Again, because whatever sells, you want to do more of. Whatever doesn't sell, don't do any more of. That timeless sort of aesthetic means I can maintain a consistent flow of stock, because I can always produce those sort of garments consistently. But also they appeal to a wider audience as well.
And is that how you found success in your business?
Yeah, I think so. Doing things that you can execute really well and do consistently, I think is really the thing that has helped to build consistent revenue in the business, definitely.
You've had a name change in the last couple of years. So you were originally NaMOI, and now you're KALILA NaMOI. What was the reason for that change, and what does NaMOI stand for?
This was a part of my naivety as a young fashion student with all this information about design and culture sort of in my head. NaMOI was on a building in Woollahra, which is where I lived for a while whilst I was in Sydney. It's a river and derived from an Indigenous name for a species of acacia. And I thought, I'm doing these earthy, drapey designs, that will be perfect. But really the one thing I would say is really do a lot of research about names and ask a lot of people their opinion, not just during a circle, because NaMOI looks a lot like Naomi. And so for 7 years I was, oh no, it's not Naomi, it's NaMOI. I settled with, all right, I'll go as KALILA, and that's going to be it for now.
So it seems there have been a few bumps along the road. How have you overcome that and come on the other side of that now?
It's interesting. I think there are always bumps in the road, and the name change was something that you just push through with. There were different times where I've lost different events or different streams of revenue, or I tried opening 2 shops and then ended up moving back to 1 shop and then moving back to my old shop, or times where I wasn't a part of the fashion festival. And so those moments can be very disconcerting and make it difficult to believe in yourself and your product and move forward. But I think you just have to find a project that you're happy doing and invest your energy in that thing. Take your mind off of the bigger picture and just focus on, I need to get this one garment made for this one customer and they loved it, and then continue looking for the positive things that you can keep doing.
Now, you've been in the business for 10 years, which is quite an achievement. Do you think the fashion industry is a tough one to crack?
Yes, I think so. I've had a lot of friends start and end businesses. I think that I was probably quite conservative in how I approached business. There are a lot of people who perhaps invested more money earlier on and have had faster growth. It's very tricky because you can invest money, you get bigger growth, you have higher revenue, but it also means that the risk each season is that you need to have that same amount of money to reinvest to maintain consistency. I think fashion is hard. I think it will take as much money as you will throw at it. You can always invest more money in, and the failure rate is quite high, and often the most talented designers are the ones that may not be commercially viable sort of businesses.
And I guess that takeaway is your designs are ethically conscious. Do you think that's had an impact on how you sell your clothes?
I think sustainability and ethics within the fashion industry have definitely been at the forefront of the industry for 10 or even 20 years really. In some ways I think that a lot of brands ride on the trend of it, and it's not authentic, and certainly there are a lot of elements of my business that could use improvements. I really try to make garments that women are going to get a lot of wear out of, and so their cost per wear and their wearability mean that they get the maximum amount of wear out of them, I hope. But the fashion industry certainly has a lot to answer for, and there's a brilliant podcast called Business of Fashion, and they're often discussing the pitfalls and the trends and how as an industry we can really improve ourselves, because as you sort of said previously, the fashion industry is hard to crack, and you can often be in this mindset of, I need to cut my costs and I need to find as much money as I can, and things are a bit hard at the moment. How can I do this in a more effective way? And often that means that workers or fabrics, might be the areas that people skimp on, and that causes problems in the long run. But as an industry, I think everyone has to really make improvements where they can.
And have you noticed in the past 10 years that customers are asking where their clothes are made, what fabrics they are being made from, the longevity of their items as well?
I think if I go to a market, people are very much interested in that, and that's a much broader audience. I think it's almost become a little bit more in-depth and not confusing, but there are so many more elements to the conversation now. I think people are more aware, but then I think we've also had the rise of fast fashion. So there's also an element of people who really get that endorphin rush from buying something. And look, you know, I'm the same. I bought some homewares from Kmart, and you know, you question yourself, and it's a really hard cycle to break. And knowing where and how to invest your money and what you're buying, there's so much psychology involved in it as well.
Well, it's so exciting to have you on board and talking with us, because I guess it does bring awareness to brands that are ethically minded without it just being a trend, as it is imprinted into their design. So it's very exciting. And thank you so much for talking to us today. And hopefully we can see many more amazing things in the next 10 years from you.
Thank you so much. I'm very much on the path of trying to improve aspects in my business where I can to, have as little impact as we can.
Okay. Thank you so much, KALILA.